Hello guys, in this video let's implement FIFO, that is ordering using session. So we will send total 1500 messages to queue from console app but with same session ID, and then we will cross check in Azure Service Bus trigger function that the messages are retrieved in sequence. Now before we actually implement this in Visual Studio, let's do a quick recap about what are sessions. Now as we know, session is used for FIFO or ordering guarantee. Then select this option, that is enable session while creating queue itself. If session is enabled, that queue or subscription will accept only messages with session ID. If session ID is not provided in message, it will throw exception. Now consider all the messages with a particular session ID as a subqueue within that queue. Now when the receiver receives the first message with a specific session ID, it locks all the messages with that session ID. Okay, then technically there is no expiry for the session. And finally, use sessions only if it's absolutely required, as with session it makes the performance slow. So now we are in Azure portal. Let's create this queue, that is test queue, and let's select this option, enable sessions, and let's create. So our queue has been successfully created. So guys, now we are in Visual Studio in our console app, and if you observe here, we created a batch of 500 service bus messages and we are sending this batch on line number 24. Okay, then next 500 messages, again this is a batch and we are sending this 501 to 1000 messages over here, and this is the third batch, that is 1000 to 1500 messages. Okay, and most importantly guys, if you observe, we are sending messages in sequence. So the message content will be message hyphen 0, message hyphen 1, message hyphen 2, like this. Okay, so how to send messages in a batch, so we have already covered in our earlier videos. Okay, now the most important thing, I will specify same session ID in all these 1500 messages. So let's do that. So here I will say message dot session ID is equal to, let's say session ID is 12345. Let's copy this code, let's paste it over here, that is batch 2. Again let's paste it in batch 3. Okay, so let's save our program. Now guys, I have created this Azure function for service bus trigger. In simple words, it will run or execute whenever the message arrives in this test queue. Okay, so it's simple and straightforward code. You don't need to have any knowledge of Azure functions. So basically in this local settings file, we simply added the connection string for that service bus queue and we are using it over here, that is connection, and this test underscore queue is the name of the queue. And here if you see, we are not doing anything over here. So basically whenever message arrives in that queue and whenever this function runs, we'll simply cross check the contents of this my queue atom. Okay, so we have just added a debugger over here. So we'll run it few times and we'll check that the messages are received in order. Okay, and one more thing we have to do is, here I will go over here, I will say is session enabled equal to true. That's it. Let's say. Now let's first run this function app so it starts listening for new message arrival in this queue. Let's run. And you see the function app is running, and now it has started listening for this service bus trigger. Okay, now let's run this console app so that it will send 1500 messages in 3 batches but with same session ID. So let's run. Now guys, see, the debugger has been hit. That means 1500 messages are sent to the service bus queue. Let's cross check. So I'll go here. See, now it shows 0. Let me refresh it. Now see, it shows 1500, means 1500 messages are there. Now let's cross check what we have obtained or what message we have obtained in our Azure function. So let's go here. If I go here, see the debugger here also it has been hit. And if I check the contents of this MyQ item, see now we got message 0. Let me continue. Let me continue again. See now we got message 1. If I continue, message 2. If I continue, message 3. If I continue, message 4. That means using session ID, now we have retrieved the messages in order. Okay, so thank you guys.